Welcome to Nugget 95 with Steve Groman. We're going to continue into this black hole story. This article by The Guardian, the first black hole image, what can we really see?
It says the image is not a photograph, important again, once again, but an image created by the Event Horizon Telescope Project. Using a network of 8 ground-based telescopes across the world, the EHT collected data to produce the image. The black hole itself is unseeable, as it's impossible for light to escape from it. But what we can see is its event horizon. Well, that's not technically true either, but we'll see. The EHT was also observing a black hole located at the center of the Milky Way, which was unable to produce an image. Okay, now let's think about this a minute. The Milky Way. They claim we're in the Milky Way, and we can't even produce an image out of what information they gathered from that. But yet they're going to say that this thing is 300 million trillion miles away in a distant galaxy, and we can produce an image. Okay. While Miser 87 is further away, it was easier to observe due to its larger size. Well, if the Milky Way is what we're in, then we're pretty much closer to it. I don't think this makes sense. But anyway, objects that pass into the event horizon are thought to go through spaghettification, a process that described by Stephen Hawking. First described by Stephen Hawking. Now, if you recall, if you've been to our Misconceptions About Space lesson or if you've seen it, Stephen Hawking is the guy who said science makes God unnecessary. Interesting. Through creating an image of a black hole, something previously thought to be impossible, the EHT project has made a breakthrough in the understanding of black holes whose existence have long been difficult to prove. The image will help physicists to better understand how black holes work, and images of the event horizon are particularly important for testing the theory of general relativity.
Okay, so they're still trying to prove general relativity over 100 years?
Yes.
And they cannot prove?
And I do show slides of that also out of various science publications where they talk about how for over 100 years, the top physicists have been trying to show some factual, some concrete something on general relativity. And the way it's written is interesting because they're trying to show what the genius who formulated the theory could not. So the genius who formulated the theory, meaning Einstein, could not show what he's talking about. And now so far today, still nobody has been able to show it.
So we can't prove it on Earth, but we're going to go to this distant black hole that we can't really see to prove Einstein's theory.
That's what they're trying.
High-sounding nonsense to me.
Like it.
And this is another disconnection between science fiction, movies. The image matches what theoretical physicists, which we know what a theoretical physicist is, and indeed Hollywood directors, and we know what Hollywood directors do, imagined black holes would look like.
Yeah, isn't that a coincidence? The image matches what theoretical physicists and indeed Hollywood directors imagined black holes would look like. Isn't that an amazing statement?
And as we had talked about Professor Fauci earlier...
Wait a minute. What is science fiction?
Highly imaginative
fiction, typically involving some actual or...
projected scientific phenomena.
Isn't that amazing?
Professor Fauci had the idea for the project when he was a PhD student in 1993. So his dream has come true.
Yes.
After arguing his case for 20 years, Professor Fauci persuaded the European Research Council to fund the project. The National Science Foundation and agencies in East Asia then joined in to bankroll the project to the tune of more than £40 million.
They go on to say, no single telescope is powerful enough to image a black hole.
Here is an article from the University of Virginia School of Engineering emerges as global hub of high-frequency materials. And this is the campus that actually does the radio millimeter information science technology. In this article, it talks about how information traveling through the heavens from regions millions of light years away. Really?
They claim that light travels at 186,252 miles per second. I've had many science articles where they clearly dispel that and say that that's not the constant, that's not the steady thing that they think it is. Nevertheless, they use these distances, these speeds, these times to calculate all this stuff when in fact they admit that these aren't even accurate.
It's not a constant.
It's not a constant. So nobody knows what it would do. And even if it was a constant that we could do science here with it and determine that, there's absolutely no way to know that out in their vacuum of space, millions of trillions of light years away or miles away. It's preposterous. But anyway.
This team member, he made this quote. It sounds very interesting. If you think about it, it is astonishing. The photons from this black hole have been traveling in space for 55 million years. And the first component these photons encounter at radio telescopes after that journey are superconducting detectors that were made in the basement of UVA's Thornton Hall. All right, well, we know right there that this is simply false because there is no such thing as 55 million years. The Bible clearly says that the Earth is not anywhere.
It's only a few thousand years old. We've shown articles here, even in this nugget, where it says that nothing can escape from a black hole, nothing can get out of there. How can photons from this black hole be traveling for 55 million years to be able to get back to here.
It's those little guys on the edge that didn't fall in.
Yeah, I guess so. It just absolutely makes no sense what they're saying here. It's amazing how everything has to be from our perspective. They have no idea, no clue on any of this. It is purely highly imaginative fiction, and it is purely high-sounding nonsense in my view of it.
This information, this event horizon hasn't gone unchallenged. Here's an article talking about the first black hole image claim challenged. This professor goes on, he says, as the world's press rushed to share news of the world's first black hole image, some skeptics are challenging the claim. Here is this researcher who wrote this letter. I note your article on the alleged imaging of a black hole. First black hole image. It's not looks that count. Facts so romantic. Nautilus. Your past reports have never been honest, and this is no exception. It's not a discovery at all. This is how astronomers and cosmologists do science. Fraud by means of mass media, induced mass hysteria. On the mathematical level, the black hole is conjured by violations of geometry. The laws of thermodynamics require that temperature must always be an intensive thermodynamic property. To argue otherwise is a violation of both the zeroth and second laws of thermodynamics. The Hawking temperature of a black hole is, however, non-intensive, in violation of the laws of thermodynamics. So black hole thermodynamics is entirely nonsense. So their black hole does not exist, proven with common sense and high school science. Yet they have managed to image that which does not exist. Of course they did. They have to justify their lucrative jobs and their vast grants of uncountable public money. Yours faithfully, Steve Crothers.
Fascinating.
So the point is, we can call it high-sounding nonsense because that's what the Bible says this teaching is. But here is a man on equal level par with these other doctors of science.
High school science can show that it's not true, is the way it's stated.
Right, it's not proven. Isaiah 45:18. For thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else.
In a future Nugget, we may actually show an example of magnification and how some of this stuff actually works.
Well, thank you.